it's a different approach, isn't it? Because UAE have got this completely monolithic sort of like fresh legs all in for the Tour de France. Whereas Visma Leasebike are actually bringing 4 riders, including Jonas Vingegaard, who raced the Giro d'Italia.
I think Evenepoel's going in, he'll be playing all cool, calm and collected, but he's got to be nervous as hell.
Paul Sexas goes to his first Tour de France with a rumoured offer from Pinarello Q36.5 of a €13 million a year salary.
Tadej Pogačar has created that market value. That's how much it costs to maybe be able to beat him.
And I just had this split moment of a second where that's enough. And I just stopped. And I was just like, oh, what have I done?
Stage 20 is just insane. But I would be really scared of that stage as a rider.
But then you get to the Tour de France and you're like, oh, this is the big show. This is kind of completely different to every single other bike race.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Science in Sport. You can't miss SIS across the Grand Tours. And did you know they were the original sports nutrition company? They invented the first isotonic recovery drinks and gels, and their lab is where the first ever dual source gels were born. Their beta products are seen in the hands of cyclists across the tours. SIS products were adopted by Team GB, and now, 30 years later, over 400 pro, elite and Olympic teams trust Science in Sport. Welcome to For the Love of Cycling. I am Ned Boulting.
I'm David Millar.
I'm Lizzie Deignan.
And I'm Peter Kennaugh.
And today we're going to do the big Tour de France preview. Yes, it is time for the big bicycle race, and we are only days away now. In fact, we're recording this on Monday morning. My job this afternoon is to pack my bags, and on Wednesday I fly to Toulouse and pick up a hire car, which I'm going to keep all the way from Barcelona all the way to Nice, which is the finish line of the Tour de France Femmes, because For the Love of Cycling is following the Tour de France Hommes and the Tour de France Femmes right the way across France and into Switzerland as well. So that is what we're going to be doing. Every single day we will be podcasting after the stage of both the men's and the women's race, and we're going to be looking back at what the action that we've just seen, plus also sort of interweaving our own journey through France as we go, and we're going to sprinkle in a load of special guests along the way and some familiar faces as well. So plenty to look forward to with daily podcasts all of July and into August from For the Love of Cycling. That is the concept. Now then, let's just start with one simple question when we think about the men's race, which is the first of the races. And that is, if he does it, and I think it's probably quite a strong possibility that Tadej Pogačar might win the Tour de France, where do we think that leaves him in terms of his legacy, David? And let me start with you, how important is potentially this 5th victory in terms of his standing in the all-time greats?
I mean, I think it's almost he needs to tick the box to put him up in the pantheon of the greats, the 5-time winner, the very handful of them. But I think probably for him, the most important thing is that he enjoys this year's Tour de France. I think there's one thing winning it, but if it's a formality, I think we saw that last year. I mean, we found out afterwards that he was a bit injured and suffered. But I think for him and for all of us, we want to see him. I think we're going to see him like going out there all guns blazing. I mean, I think he's just going to want to win, dominate, and just destroy it. And I think that's something we're going to see. And I think that's what we're all expecting. And in a way, I kind of hope it happens, because I think we want to see him. Don't want to see the Tadej Pogačar we saw last year. And if he does that, I think we've got last year. If you remember the Tour de France, we were questioning, well, is he going to retire?
Yeah,
I mean, it was that kind of melancholic how he won. And I don't think that's good for
He had an existential crisis in the middle of the race, didn't he? He became like this poet-philosopher who started to talk about his own mortality, and it was all kind of crazy. It was interesting times, but yeah.
So
he's not that character this year.
In a nutshell, I just think, he has to do it because he needs to get those 5. He has to get those 5. So this is arguably one of the most important, bar his first Tour de France. This is really important for him.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Lizzie? I mean, Eddie Merckx, Indurain, Bernardino, Jacques Anquetil, Tadej Pogačar fits right in, doesn't he?
I suppose because, I'm not from a cycling family. I didn't grow up looking at cycling, knowing about cycling. I only know those legends of the sport through tales of other people, whereas obviously I've seen what Tadej's done firsthand. So I recently did a documentary about whether it was Eddie or Tadej, the greatest of all time. And it's like this big rivalry about who's the best. And for me, I mean, I think I offended the documentary producer. I said Tadej. It was a Merckx documentary. I realised I gave the wrong answer as soon as I gave it, but as
Did they withhold your fee for the day's filming?
Well,
You gave the wrong answer.
So yeah, for me, it's hard to look past him as the greatest of all time, but that's because I get to be a fan in the moment now. Do you know what I mean?
Pete, any thoughts?
No, not really. I think dare you mention his name, Lance Armstrong, the Voldemort of the Tour de France. Before he won the 7, I think before you could be considered a legend of the sport, you had to win 5 Tour de France's, didn't you? And I think that's why it's such a big deal. He already is a legend of the sport as it is, but I think if he gets the win this year, then it will really put him up there with, in history of all the other greats. But it is the Tour de France, and if we learn anything from last year, then anything can still happen. Okay, like coming into it, he's showing clear dominance, but it's not done. There's still a long way to go until we reach Paris. So let's see.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about. I mean, it's just a weird. I suppose it's a really weird statistical coincidence, I guess, that all these great riders through history have all stopped at 5, with the exception of Voldemort, Lance Armstrong. But it is really strange, isn't it? And I remember when I was sent in 2003 for my first tour, that was Armstrong's 5th victory, right? So, and I remember coming from the sport like you, Lizzie, as basically an outsider and not from a cycling background at all. I didn't understand the importance of these names, but the inside the Tour de France bubble, in the anticipation of that 2003 race, Armstrong, that was all he was asked about, was the 5th. This is the 5th. It's a bit like Real Madrid with the 10th, Champions League sort of thing. It absolutely meant so much, that raw number. And
like Cav with the 35. He got sick of it, didn't he?
Yeah.
What's something that's interesting though? That whole, even Merckx to a certain degree, but they all, old cycling, let's say, they started to peak out mid-20s, late 20s. Those 5 would be won from mid-20s to early 30s. And when they got that 5th, they were normally like 31, 32.
That's
And
true.
I was like, oh my God, you're so old. That's it. And it was almost, there was this mental block that you could go further. Now, if we look at Tadej Pogačar, he's going in for his 5th. He's finished, he's won 4, he's finished 2nd twice. And he's like late 20s. It's just crazy. So it's a very different sport now.
I think the ultimate flex would be if he just doesn't stop at 5 and he thinks about Lance Armstrong's reputation and he goes for 8.
Yeah.
Just like,
why not?
It'd be like driving the silver, nail into the heart of the coffin, wouldn't it? Just like, not even 7, I'm going to have 8. Bang!
Yeah, but
like
the way he's riding at the moment, it's possible, isn't it? 3 more years.
It's not impossible.
It's more than possible. He's not. His trajectory is not going down at all. By the way, sorry, it's actually still going up.
But he's, like I was just saying about that age before, he's now hitting that kind of old school peak, like 27, 28, 29. It's as if he's won Tour de France's while he was still in the ascendant. And now he's kind of reaching his kind of pinnacle, because even he's saying he's better than ever now. So it's kind of mad that, Pete, he's probably still got another 3-4 Tour de France's in him at like peak, which is wild.
That's what's really scary. Yeah.
All right, then. What do we think about should we just rattle through the route a little bit? This is the problem with a 3-week Grand Tour. You can't hold it all in your head, can you? It's just too big. Even as a rider or a commentator or a fan, it's just...
Imagine trying to race it, Ned, if your head hurts. Imagine your legs.
Exactly. So it gets underway with the team time trial in Barcelona, and then there's a really interesting stage 2, which ends in a circuit on the Montjuic, the Olympic Stadium in Barcelona. So that's going to be a really interesting race. And then it gets hilly straight away, and by stage 4, we're already in the Pyrenees. There's 3 days effectively in and out of the Pyrenees with a possibly a sprint into Pau in between, and then a summit finish on stage 7. Then we've got a couple of opportunities for the sprinters, Bordeaux and Bergerac. And then 2, by now we're in stage 9 and 10. I'm moving through the Tour de France that quickly. We've got 2 really interesting, lumpy, difficult days in the Massif Central, which already I'm really looking forward to, because those are the kind of days, they're the sort of Ben Healy days, aren't they? Where I think we're going to see great racing on both those days.
They're
there's another
Ciccone
sprint then.
days.
They're Ciccone days.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then who's the new Ciccone that we found the other day?
Oh, from Tour de Suisse. We've already forgotten his name.
Vacek.
Vasek, there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nevers. There's
It's not a good sign.
Nevers. Then we've got another summit finish in the Vosges Mountains to Le Marquestine, which is going to be tough. And then we're into the big sort of like finale. We've got the Plateau de Sol Saison. That's an all category summit finish. Then we've got the individual time trial at Tonon-les-Bains with a little bit of a climb at the first half of it. It's not particularly long. It's 26.1 kilometers. We've got maybe a breakaway day in Voiron. And then another summit finish, a Cat 1 climb to Ossières-Melette. And then we've got Alpe d'Huez, or category climb on stage 19. Alpe d'Huez again on stage 20, albeit up the different side, the Pic Kennaugh side of Alpe d'Huez, up the Col
Thank you, Ned.
de Sarenne. And then it's Paris with the Montmartre circuit. I guess we kind of say this every time, Lizzie, but it is sort of designed to be mostly backloaded, isn't it? They're going to hope that the general classification is kind of still live and interesting right up to that, the last sort of salvo of GC days, the last 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, well, it still can be won and lost on stage 20, can't it? And I think, I mean, even things like the green jersey could be won and lost on the final stage. They need to be in time cut that day. I mean, it's just stage 20 is just insane. I would be really scared of that stage as a rider. Yeah, I think it'll culminate in a really we're hoping that it's still right up until the line, aren't we? We're hoping that there's still going to be a battle there on stage 20, because it's the perfect opportunity for the race to be taken over or lost altogether.
I mean, I think everybody's waiting to see if I think it has to kick off on stage 4. With Tourmalet. I mean, it's not the hardest finish climb, but the Tourmalet is
Col
there.
d'Aspin and the Tourmalet as well. Yep.
And it kind of feels like, why wouldn't the big guys go? And especially, I mean, Sexas is there, Pogačar. It's a good little fire shot across the bows and kind of see who's in the game. So I think I love it when you've got it. It was like when we started in Italy and you had Galibier on stage 4, and it was already, I think it's a good thing for the race. I think we already get to kind of, and I think for the riders as well, because otherwise you're in the unknown as to how you are. And immediately all the teams, the race is going to take some form on stage 4, which I think is great.
Yeah, I think also Grand Tours and, well, every race now is raced completely different to what we used to from the past. Like, no one really thinks too much about the whole 3 weeks anymore and about saving themselves. I think, like David says, we're already going to see the guys want to test themselves and test each other on stage 6. But then also the first road stage. I mean, anyone who's watched or ridden Catalonia, that's the first GC day for me. That climb is hard. The fight to get in it for positioning, the stress, the stage itself. I mean, I was going through Valavia, and I think there's one section along the coast in 30k. There's like 28 roundabouts or something. It's crazy. So there's going to be so much stress. Also, that climb, even in Catalonia, it is packed with fans. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for the Tour. 1k over 10%. So we'll see people lose time potentially there already.
So then, David Millar, this is my question to you. Have you ever been in that situation where you're looking to buy a car, and you're thinking, I just don't feel confident about what I'm buying, because you can't really just get that from looking at it or just speaking to the seller?
Yeah, I have. It's a stressful one. You're trying to make a decision, but there's a lot you just don't know.
Exactly. And I actually had a friend go through exactly this recently. He found what he looked like a kind of brilliant deal on a used car. It looked spotless. There was low mileage. The seller seemed genuine, the whole shebang. And he was basically at the point where he was going to hand over his money. But there was this sort of nagging feeling, because if you're spending that kind of money, you kind of want to know the full story about, not just what's right in front of you.
That's the most stressful part. How do you know what you're actually buying?
Exactly. That's it. Exactly. Because a car can look absolutely fine, I guess, tick all the boxes. And that doesn't paint the full picture, because in my friend's case, he ran a car vertical report before buying it. And it turned out the car had been in a pretty serious accident and the seller just didn't even bother mentioning it. So that completely changed everything. And basically, without that report, he'd have bought it with absolutely no idea, which is why it really makes sense to check it properly before you buy it. And the best way to do that is car vertical. What it does is brings together the vehicle data from a large number of sources across different countries and then builds a full history report.
So you're seeing a timeline of data about the car before you buy it?
Yes, exactly. Things like previous accidents, mileage discrepancies, theft records, and if they're available, even images from damage inspections. Just gives you a clear picture of whether what you're being shown actually matches what's actually happened to the car. And it's really simple too. So listeners can check their cars by entering the registration plate number or the car's VIN code to receive a full detailed report. So whether you've got one car in mind or you're comparing a few different options, you can get the facts before making the decision.
So it eliminates so much of the uncertainty before making such a big decision.
Yes, it really does. And if the report has no findings, you're refunded automatically. And right now, if you use our code For the Love of Cycling, or just go through the tracking link in the description, you'll get 20% off a single car vertical report. And if you're weighing up a few different cars, you can buy a bundle of reports and get up to 50% off with the same code. So before buying a car, use Car Vertical to find out what the pictures don't tell you.
It feels like such a simple step that just takes away so much of the stress, Ned.
Exactly. Before you buy, make sure you know the full story. Use the code For the Love of Cycling for 20% off your first report or up to 50% off report bundles. Or just click the link in the description and the discount will be applied automatically. I tell you what, it's not a particularly friendly Tour de France for the sprinters, is it? They're going to have to be super patient. There's that stage into Pau, which is pretty difficult. And if it's ridden hard, I think not necessarily going to come down for a sprint. The first opportunity they really have is Bordeaux and then Bergerac the next day, which looks fairly nailed on. But interestingly, the race organisers have kind of thrown them a bone in the sense that they have reconfigured the points competition slightly. So for the flat days, instead of 50 points in the green jersey competition, they've actually amplified it now, and the purely flat stages are now 70 points. So they've tilted it right back in favour of the pure sprinters, but they haven't given them many stages to actually kind of, and of course, Paris has gone for them as well, hasn't it, effectively, with the Montmartre stage.
I think it's good for somebody like Mads, say, because he's going for the green jersey.
That's true.
And obviously he's a bit more of a classics man compared to somebody like Philipsen. So hopefully he'll have a good shot at green this year, because he's been looking at that for a long time.
Yeah, well, he's more than capable, isn't he, Pedersen, of picking up podiums in the sprint, or even winning one of the sprints if everything goes his way. But he'll be chipping away and picking up points on those days as well. So
yeah,
I reckon there's 5 stages where the sprinters can win maximum points.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tour de France, when you go on the website, it's quite funny because they have they mark the stages, don't they, as like flat, hilly or mountains.
Hilly. I saw
and
hilly.
There's hilly 4,000 meters elevation gate. But they have 7 flat stages, and then you go through the profiles, and you're like,
yeah, really.
That one, that stage 10, that's flat.
It's like flat for who?
Yeah. It's just bonkers.
Yeah, I love the way they do that. At the Giro d'Italia, I don't know how they've landed on this word because it makes no sense in English really, but for those difficult days where it's not quite flat, they call them wavy.
Wavy, it's a good one.
Today,
yeah.
Stage 7 is a wavy.
Also, RCS is great because they've got a different scale for their profiles.
Oh, yeah.
So they look incredible. It's just looks like shark's teeth even on like a flat day. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's enough about how little we know about the route of the Tour de France. No, I thought there was
quite a lot.
Some gems of information there. I have asked all of you to name 3 reasons why we all love the Tour de France, and it doesn't matter what they are. But I was wondering if we could kick it off with your first reason why you love the Tour de France. I'm going to start with you, Pete.
Whoa, right on the spot.
Straight in, deep end.
Okay, my first reason is when you ride it, you feel like actually cycling is a decent sport. because there's so many people watching compared to normal. So you're like, oh, this is actually quite cool, you know?
Does that mean, Pete, that most of the time when you weren't racing the Tour de France, cycling didn't feel like a proper sport?
No, but you just had that moment where you're like, this is actually really cool. You know, like going up Alpe d'Huez and there's just so many people.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just had that moment where you're like, actually, this is quite good, as opposed to one man in his dog out watching.
I think it's a general cacophony at the Tour de France. There's lots of motorbikes, there's cars, there's crowds, there's it's just everything. It's like, what the hell is this? It's like you're in a stadium all the time. Whereas other sports, you can kind of pick them out individually. Oh, there's a motorbike. Oh yeah, the helicopter's still here. Whereas it's just it's all happening at once at the Tour.
Lizzie, what about you? What's your first reason why you love the Tour?
I'd say probably the fact that it kind of transcends the sport. It's bigger than just cycling. So anyone you speak to, if you tell someone you're a professional cyclist, they're like, what? But the first question is then, oh, have you ridden the Tour de France? That's the kind of way they can quantify it as a profession. So everyone around the world, I feel like, knows about the Tour de France. It's our kind of marquee event, and I think particularly on the women's side, now that we have a Tour de France, that has completely transformed the sport because of the investment and the opportunity and the stage that it's provided for the sport. So yeah, just the fact that it's such a big deal, I suppose.
I remember the organising committee, the Welcome to Yorkshire people who organised the Grand Départ in 2014, some people who worked for that organisation showing me some emails that they'd received in the run-up to the Grand Départ in Yorkshire from random people across the UK. And people were emailing into the organisation saying things like, my grandson is very keen on cycling. Can you tell me how he applies to do the Tour de France?
Brilliant.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
They'd kind of heard of the Tour de France, but they didn't really understand what it was.
Or
Anyway,
do you do it on your own, or are you part of a team? You know, how can you enter it?
Yeah. Go on, David.
Basically the same as Lizzie. I think it's just people outside of cycling know what it is. I mean, I remember when I turned pro in 97, when cycling was a proper, still cult sport in the UK and the Anglophone world. A prime example of a London taxi, you have your bike, what's that bike? What do you do? I'm a professional cyclist. They're like, oh, do you get paid for that? And I was like, yeah. Do you do the Tour de France? No. And it wasn't until 2000 when I did the Tour for the first time I could actually say, oh, yeah, I do. Because I'd always be asked, do you do the Tour de France? Otherwise, it was like, well, you're not a pro, are you? So yeah. So that's it. It's the only event that is actually known by the wider public.
Well, along similar lines, the first thing I thought of when I thought, what are the details that, I'm really fond of about the Tour de France? And I thought about the bunch sprints at the Tour de France, how they have just a completely different character from the sprints at any of the other Grand Tours. Very often they are on arrow straight boulevards like Châteauroux, or even the finish into Bordeaux, or the long finish line in Marseille. And there's something about those hot, super hot afternoons around about 4:45 in the afternoon, where you can see the heat shimmering and you can see the wide avenue and the noise from the speaker and the crowds banging the boards and everyone wearing their cochinou hats and all that, saying the bright sunshine. And because it's the Tour de France and you've got all the A-list sprinters there, and they've brought big sprinters trains as well, and you've got a wide avenue, you've got proper lead-outs battling sort of like side by side. And it just looks, I think the bunch sprints are a real spectacle at the Tour de France, and they just look better and different from any other Grand Tour. Don't know what you think about that.
I agree. Yeah.
I agree. You painted a nice picture there, Ned.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You did.
I think that was amazing, yeah.
Painted a picture with words, Ned.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow.
Steady. All right. What about the start list? In as much as we know it, obviously they won't have kind of finalised the teams just yet. In fact, Pete, you're working for Astana. You can't really talk about your team, even though you probably know it, because it hasn't officially been announced yet, has it? When do the riders know?
The riders will already know that they've been selected. We had our call on last Tuesday, about selection, and then we informed the riders straight after. But it's getting announced today at some point, I guess this afternoon. But every team's different. I assume there's other teams that have already announced their lineup. But everyone, I mean, whether you're in the team or you have a vague idea, don't you, of who's gonna who's going to be selected.
I think we know quite a lot, don't we, about the relative teams that Visma, the two big teams, Visma, Leasebike and UAE are sending to the Tour. Lizzie, and it's quite different, isn't it? Because UAE are bringing a complete team of riders who haven't raced the Giro d'Italia. They have just been focusing on the Tour de France and supporting Pogačar, and they're bringing Del Toro to the race as well. But it's a different approach, isn't it? Because UAE have got this completely monolithic sort of like fresh legs all in for the Tour de France. Whereas Visma Leasebike are actually bringing 4 riders, including Jonas Vingegaard, who raced the Giro d'Italia. Sepp Kuss, Davide Pigonsoli, who's the replacement for Wout van Aert, and Victor Campenaerts, all raced the Giro. So there's a big difference there, isn't there?
Well, there is, yeah. But I mean, UAE have got so many riders to choose from that are capable, top 10 riders themselves. Like, it's insane, their list to choose from. And yeah, it's pretty exciting that they've say, like, Del Toro, for instance, is totally focused on the Tour de France, even though he probably, he could have done something at the Giro or whatever. They're all in for the Tour, and it's going to be interesting to see if Jumbo can match them. I mean, I've never tried to do the Giro and the Tour de France. I don't know how that feels in comparison to preparing just on altitude, and particularly like now in modern cycling, what that difference. I think it's going to be more noticeable maybe than 5 years ago, where people were doing less altitude and it was less like specific and stuff. But I mean, Pete, you probably know more about that than me. In terms of preparation, like as a rider, what's better, the Giro or altitude? Whether it's still like a personal thing or whether it is just about data and science and how it works now, I don't know.
I think for Visma, it just boils down to that they've got that core group around Jonas Vingegaard, who went to the Giro. And let's not forget that the Giro was the big goal of the year for him. He'd never won it before, and he obviously wanted those riders around him to go there and take the Mile Rosa. But the problem is, and it might not be a problem, but we'll find out next week, the big GC riders, like in the past for me with Froome, like today, Vingegaard, they can all absorb huge amounts of workload where often domestiques can't. They don't have the rate of recovery and they can't, perform to the same standards in 4 weeks' time. So they might come a little bit unstuck there, but we'll have to see.
I'm quite surprised they're sending Davide Pigonsoli as a replacement. He had a kind of breakthrough Giro d'Italia, didn't he? Not only being the best mountain domestique for Jonas, but also they kind of like told him to carry on racing for GC and try and contest the white jersey and everything. And he did a brilliant job of it before just at the very end he cracked a little bit. But it's a huge ask for such a young and inexperienced rider to double up and then go to the Tour de France for the first time in his career. That's a massive... I mean, flip it around, I suppose you could say it's just a massive statement of faith in him. But it feels
I think it's a bit desperation.
Doesn't feel like that to me. That's exactly it, David. It feels like a slightly desperate
hoping
pick.
for the best.
Yeah.
I think it's
Or is that too negative a spin? But it's
no. I think they are without Wout van Aert, and I haven't followed Zaffini out as well. It's I'm not sure.
Who else is out?
I thought Fini crashed, but I'm not sure how he is. But yeah, I think they really do need to have he was an outstanding rider at Giro. They've got no one else that can hope to do what he did. So it's kind of a wing and a prayer and nothing to lose to a certain degree. I mean, it's a great opportunity for him because he'll be going in as, if we don't have you, we've got no one close to you. So even if you can do the first half of the race and be really good, that's huge. So, I mean, desperation is pretty, perhaps not the right word. It's probably just hyper pragmatic. It's, you're really good. Let's take you. And it's better than not having a rider of your abilities.
What about Red Bull? They've got, obviously, Lipovic won the Tour of Slovenia and Remco's been invisible and very, very lightly raced and just been preparing for the Tour de France. They also take Jai Hindley to the Tour de France after his podium finish at the Giro, where he looked really strong, actually. But Jai Hindley is a terrific rider that he is, Grand Tour winner that he is. I think he has a certain ceiling, doesn't he, of what they can expect from him. But Lipovic and Evenepoel, that twin leadership thing, how do we feel that might play out?
I think Evenepoel is going in he'll be playing all cool, calm and collected, but he's got to be nervous as hell. I think the fact he hasn't raced for so long and being on training camp, I think it was quite revealing that he did that YouTube video and revealed all his numbers like 3 weeks ago. That was almost like a kind of little bit of insecurity just to show people, because why would you be telling people about what your FTP is and how incredibly strong you are in your training camp unless you just kind of were getting a little bit just showing off, really. So I think it's going to be interesting. Lipowitz, I think, is just showing how consistent he is. I think he's really reliable. And so it's a little bit of an interesting one for Red Bull, because Lipowitz is based off the last year and a bit. He's quite a sure bet to do well. Oddly, Remco Evenepoel is it's a little bit more insecurity around him, because his first tour was fantastic. He got third one stage, but at the same time he's coming in and he's had as many misses as he has hits in Grand Tours.
Yeah.
I almost think by not racing for Remco they're just trying to protect him almost. Because imagine if he went to okay, it might not be the reason at all. They might know something that I don't, but if he went to the Tour de Suisse or the Dauphiné and had a slight disaster, let's say, outside the top 10 on GC, where would they go from that, So I think from a mental point of view, at least he is arriving at the Tour mentally fresh, physically, from what we've seen, looks like he's ready. But yeah, maybe just to protect him a bit before the Tour, and at least he's starting the Tour in the right mindset, positive and ready to go.
Hey Lizzie, what's the inside track on Lidl-Trek, who you are obviously still closely associated with? Juan Ayuso's looked all right, hasn't he? Had a very good race at the Dauphiné, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, inside they've got a lot of internal changes, obviously, with staff and stuff coming in and out. So I think they're in a bit of a transition period. But I think from a rider perspective, that doesn't really alter things. I think Ayuso, he's had an all right season up until now, but not anything like last year. So I wouldn't expect that they put all their eggs in one basket with him. I mean, they've got Mads going for green jersey.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that they're going to race kind of openly and aggressively. And that should make for some exciting racing. I don't know. I don't want to put the call out there, but I don't think he's going to be a major GC challenge. And
we also don't know what Paul Sexas, I mean, we spoke about him in the last podcast, or the last but one, at length after his crash and ultimately abandoning the Dauphiné, but sort of like bit of a curate's egg of a race. But Paul Sexas goes to his first Tour de France with seemingly, get this, potentially a rumoured offer from Pinarello Q36.5 of a €13 million a year salary.
That was a year. Oh God, I thought it must have been multiple years.
Unless I got it wrong, I think it's per year.
No, it's per year. It's per year.
It's per year. Yeah.
Oh my word!
But that's his market value. That's what's crazy. It's a Glasenberg, the billionaire behind the team.
Yeah,
he wants to win the Tour de France. It's he's
that's what it costs.
He's got an absolutely crazy amount of money. It's for him. It's compared to other sports. If you think about it, going into a football team or Formula One, if this billionaire wants to win the Tour de France, and 13 million a year is how much it's going to cost to get the great hope, then it's not that much to him.
Yeah, if you're head of the marketing budget at Decathlon, you're going, that's a bit annoying.
Yeah, it's like, ooh.
Yes.
You got to sell a lot of tents to make that.
You have. Yeah. Or maybe Ineos, Dave B. Yeah. Also a bit annoying for him.
Very annoying for him.
Very annoying. I thought I had all the money.
Yeah. But that's also that's all Tadej Pogačar has created, that market value. That's how much it costs to maybe be able to beat him.
To maybe be able to beat him.
Oh God, it's crazy. But yeah.
I mean, that's quite a lot more than Tadej Pogačar earns, isn't it?
He's supposed to be about 8 million a year. Yeah. On his team salary. Yeah.
So if that deal, and it's a long way off being certain, isn't it? That it's just rumor. But if he were to move Paul Sixas for that kind of money, Tadej would be looking at his own employers and going, not sure I'm being paid the market rate here.
Yeah.
And he'd have a pretty good, argument.
But so if they've offered him 13 million, why don't they just offer Pogačar 13 million for 3 years?
I think Pogačar's got like 100 million buyout clause in his contract.
Yeah,
okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Which even for our friend from Switzerland might be just a little.
Yeah.
He might think twice about that.
Yeah.
But even then, that's like less than half, isn't it? What Cristiano Ronaldo earns
a week.
kicking a football around it. Yeah. Oh my word. Well, this episode is brought to you by Thriver, which is an at-home blood testing service designed to give you a clear picture of what's going on inside your body, which sounds a bit weird, but bear with me because it's very important. It's a simple test that anyone can do at home. It takes about 10 minutes using Thriver's auto draw kit, and your blood results are reviewed by a doctor, and then everything that they learn lands in an app which provides clear explanations of what all the data means, because cycling folk and cyclists are obsessed with data, right? Power, heart rate, sleep recovery, and all that sort of thing. All of which tells you what's happening on the outside. But Thriver gives you inside body data too. Lizzie, you've just done your test. So we thought it'd be a good time to talk to you about why you wanted to do it. And soon after, we'll go through the results properly. But why did you want to do it, Lizzie? You've spent a lot of your life in elite sports, I suppose, where this kind of thing is just part of your job. But what made you want to do it now at this stage of life?
Healthcare is at, premium when you're in a team. Everything is considered and thought about. You're obliged to do a monthly test for the UCI anyway, so blood tests become very normal. The doctors are constantly checking your blood values to check your health and how you're adapting to training, etc. And then you retire, and that all disappears. And actually, for me, I've really missed knowing what's going on inside my body because I'm so used to having that data. And now I'm at a different stage of my life where health is equally as important. I've just had a baby. I'm breastfeeding her and I'm exhausted, and I'm wondering how on earth I can combat that exhaustion because ultimately I'm depleting my own energy to feed Anya. So understanding where I'm deficient is really important for me. So I'm hoping that from my results I can get a bit of understanding of what supplements that maybe I can take to try and improve my energy.
Yeah, I take you at complete face value on all of this, Lizzie, because I remember, after Shay was born, talking to you about how you were almost off your own bat, working out what was going on with your body when you started resuming training and getting back into the professional peloton. You had, I think it's probably safe to say, sort of limited resources. I mean, not many people knew how to do it, and you were kind of, for want of a better word, making it up as you go along. And now you've stopped racing. I guess that's a second challenge for you to understand how your body's working, because you're now, okay, you know a bit about recovering from maternity, don't you? Because this is your third time, but this is the first time you stopped racing. So I guess it would be interesting for you to see how that kind of interlocks with the maternity aspect as well.
Yeah, I think sometimes as well you need a bit of a catalyst to make you prioritize your own health as well. And sometimes if you see it written down on paper, actually, Lizzie, you're anemic, it's really important that you take those iron supplements. It will make a marked difference to your well-being and your energy levels. Then it's going to incentivize me to do it, to have it written down on paper and to be able to break down. And I'm really looking forward to looking at things now in comparison to when I was a professional athlete and I was prioritizing my nutrition and stuff like that, because obviously that's all gone out the window. So I'm curious to see how bad I am, I suppose.
And how, you've done the test. Was it straightforward? I mean, because I think instinctively, if people hear blood test, they might think, oh, well, that's a lot of hassle maybe. But how straightforward and easy was it actually to do?
That is the best thing about it, because we're all time short, and also access in this country. You can't just go to your doctor and say, I'd love a blood test result to see if I'm deficient in anything. That's not a priority, understandably. So to be able to access it yourself, 10 minutes, go drop it off at the post office and find out firsthand for yourself, and have a doctor review your results as easy as it can be. It doesn't get any easier.
So they send the test out in the post and it just arrives in a box sort of thing? And then
Yeah, so it arrived in the post, took it out, shot myself in the arm, didn't hurt, put it back in the post box, and I'm waiting for the results now.
So when do they come back? I mean, how quickly they turn it round, and when are you expecting the results?
So it depends. They break down. You can decide on what analysis you want. So there's loads of different options for iron deficiency, B12 deficiency, hormone levels even. There's fertility sort of markers in there for people who are trying for a baby. There's everything you could imagine that you would potentially want to find out about. You can click on and you make your own sort of personal profile, and then therefore it depends on how long your results take, depending on how complex the test you've asked for is. So mine will be back in about a week.
Excellent. Well, the good thing is the results can come back in as little as 48 hours. And as you mentioned, Lizzie, they're doctor reviewed in the app. So after the tour is finished, we'll sit down and go through them properly if you're happy with that. If you're the sort of person who likes knowing what's going on with your body, Thriver gives you all that visibility. Use the code LOVEOFCYCLING at checkout for 20% off. All right, reasons why we love the tour, part 2, David. Come on. Hit us with your second reason why you love the tour.
I think, like Pete says, when you get there as a bike racer, it suddenly feels like it lives up to expectations. You know, I saw it as a kid in Hong Kong, kind of in VHS videos and magazines and following in newspapers, and everybody knew what the Tour de France was. Then I became a pro cyclist, and it's all kind of parochial. And you're turning up to, as Pete says, one man and a dog races. And that's, you grow very quickly accustomed to, and it's lovely, I love it. But then you get to the Tour de France and you're like, oh, this is the big show. This is kind of completely different to every single other bike race. And it's kind of that old adage, you don't want to meet your heroes. But I think the Tour de France, when you kind of turn up, you're like, oh, this is good. Yeah, it's like, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. So yeah, that's what I loved about it.
Yeah. Lizzie, number 2 for you. What's your second reason?
I think the fact that it has such a strong identity, like in the fact that it's yellow. Like you have the rainbow jersey in cycling and then you have the yellow jersey. We don't talk about the pink jersey and the red jersey in the same way. It's like there's these two iconic jerseys. And the Tour de France owns yellow in my mind. If I see anything yellow, I think of the Tour de France.
I agree. I do hope, though, because I consider the green jersey and the polka dot jersey to be just as iconic in a funny way, and they belong together as a little set of 3, don't they? But I do really hope that the Tour de France, hopefully this year, but as soon as possible, reverts from their slightly darker green to the proper bright green jersey, because the last few years it's been like a slightly rubbish colour in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lizzie. Pete, what's your second? What's your second?
My second one is it's the only race in the world that fills me with like emotion and thoughts about why I first got into cycling and of your childhood. And I think any of those type of memories or emotions are just always the strongest, aren't they? You know, the memories of being a young kid on the Isle of Man or wherever you live, Hong Kong, riding around on your bike, pretending to be one of your heroes when it was just a dream. Like it was impossible, you know? So then, you know, when you get to, there's no other race in the world that when you get to ride it, all those memories just come flooding back at once. And the strongest memory for me was when I was riding down the Champs-Élysées for the first time. And then it was just like, bang, all happened. And it's because it's the only race televised. You know, when you were 10 growing up and there was four channels on the TV, not 100 now. And it's the only race you could really watch all year, wasn't it? And so that, and then also part of the same sort of thing, but you know, when you just see all the fans out and they're with their families and they're camping and they're waiting on the side of the road for 5 hours just to watch this race fly by for 1 second. I think the fact that it has that power as well to just bring people together, and I think that's quite special. I never really seen that side of it until I worked on the Tour in television with you guys. And then you see a completely different side to the race that's quite, it's quite beautiful.
God, you've all given like really from the heart and fantastic answers, and I'm feeling a bit embarrassed by my second selection.
Change
I
it.
chose. Well, I've written it down. I can't think. I'm not fleet of foot. I can't improvise. And I also haven't got the same experience of the race that you have. So I've gone for Campanile hotels. I just love them.
No, perfect.
They're absolutely brilliant. I love them. And I love the fact that the architecture is identical. Doesn't matter whether you're in Rouen or Marseille or Bordeaux or in the Vosges Mountains.
Good.
They're all the same wherever you go. You walk up to reception, you collect your key card, you turn left to go into the restaurant where you know exactly what you're going to see written up on the blackboard of their local specials for the day and everything. You know what the salad buffet looks like. You know what you're going to get for breakfast. And when you get your room card, you know, even if you're on the upstairs level of your room, you know exactly what the staircase looks like to go up to the upstairs level. You know the concrete walkway. You know how those cards slot in to open the door. You know when you open the door, you know how to reach for the switch that gets the roller blind down. You know where the molded the molded little stool sits just under the table. You have a kettle in your room with a little cup that you can have a cup of green tea in the morning, and the air conditioning works. And I love a
Ned,
Campanile hotel.
How many doors does the room have?
3.
3.
3
3 including the bathroom, but 2.
It has
front doors.
an
Usually
airlock.
has a little porch,
Campaniles have
doesn't it?
airlocks.
It has a porch. They always have a porch, and they always have 2 doors, don't they?
You're right.
Yeah.
They have the
That's what I
airlock.
love about Campaniles.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just brilliant.
It's fun when you try to get a massage in one, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you have to do it outside because you can't fit the bed in.
All right, we're kind of nearly done, but I just want, you've all raced the Tour de France. Lizzie, you raced 2 editions of the Tour towards the sort of like latter years of your career where am I right in thinking that on neither edition, it's 23 and 24, wasn't it, that you didn't really have a leadership role, did you? You were already sort of more of a domestique at that point.
Yeah, I was doing the hard work. Blimmin' heck.
You're doing the hard jobs, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking after... One of my favourite memories, actually, of racing was looking after Gaia Realini. She was... I think she's about 42 kilos, tiny, pure climber. We started in Holland. We had 3 days in Holland, 4 stages. And you can imagine trying to look after a 42 kilo rider in Holland. It was seriously hard work. Like I couldn't get out of the saddle, out of the corners because that acceleration was too much for us. I was like doing all these seated accelerations and I looked after her like perfectly until the bottom of the Alpe d'Huez on the last stage, and she climbed to 5th overall, and it was amazing. And she was such a great rider to work for. She was really grateful, and yeah, look, I loved that experience. Being a domestique is brilliant because you just get to empty yourself without the fear of failure. Completely different to trying to go for GC. Like trying to win GC in the Tour de France is so mental as well as physical. Every day just staying focused and the fear of how your legs are going to be on the climb and all that kind of stuff. As a domestique, you don't have any of that fear. You literally just have to empty the tank over and over again, and it's really quite simple. So I really enjoyed that experience.
Yeah, and Pete, your 2 tours that you raced, 2013 and 15, you had a similar role, didn't you? You were a domestique on both occasions for Chris Froome, but in other, maybe not with the same degree of success as Lizzie, but in other parts of your calendar, and you got a leadership role and you got an opportunity to actually try and race for the win, as you proved at the Dauphiné on a couple of occasions, and throughout your career in Austria and other races. But at the Tour, that wasn't the case. You were a pure domestique.
I understand where Lizzie's coming from, in terms of it's nice. There's nowhere near as much pressure day to day for a domestique, but where the pressure does come, if you're brought, like I found out in my second Tour de France, if you're brought to the Tour to do a certain job and you can't do it. And so I had a good Dauphiné, and then I was just awful, basically. And I just progressively got worse throughout the Tour, but just hated being there. So I just couldn't find any form. Then eventually I got sick. I was in the nail in the coffin was when I was in the Gruppetto for like the 3rd day on the row with Cav. And I was just like, I can't do this for 180k. Got dropped on the first climb. And then I had like, maybe 170k in a gruppetto of about 8 or 10 people, you know. I was just like, and then for me, like, when you talk about the tour and the dream, like reaching your like childhood dream that you never thought could come true, when that dream turns into that, I was like this. And for me, I was a rider, I was like, God, this is not what I'm here to do. And that eventually just, it was like a snowball effect, you know. It started off like a little thing mentally in my head, like, oh, come on, it's not great, but the next day will be better. And then it just progressively got worse to the point where I was like, I hate this race and just want to go home. And couldn't think of, there was not one possible way to get out of that cycle of negativity in my brain, if you know what I mean. Every day I woke up, I got to the bus and I was just like, oh God, here we go again. And I got to the point where it was, I can't remember I do remember, it was the day before the second rest day, and Laura, my wife, she flew out for the rest day. So she'd be at the end of at the hotel at the end of the stage, which I don't think was a Campanile. But I think she was like 6 months pregnant at the time as well. And it was one of those stages where there was like a tiny bit of crosswind, but not enough to split it, and everyone was just in the gutter. And I was like last 5 wheels, and I just had this split moment of a second where that's enough, and I just stopped. I got in the car, and then I was like, anyone will know, Lizzie, David, it's so easy to make that choice to get off, but then when you're in the car, you can't take it back, can you? And I was just like, oh, what have I done, you know? But just cracked for that split moment. But I just lost sight of what the tour was, what the tour meant for me, everything we talked about through this whole podcast, basically. And so, it was, the second one was not the best experience. And the first one was, like David said, when he was a boy in Hong Kong, it lived up to everything that I ever imagined. So 2 very, very different experiences, basically.
Wow, amazing stuff, Pete. David, your career, you know, either side of your ban has had completely different characteristics, didn't it? Because, you know, you had this massive leadership role, young rider, you know, a lot of pressure on your shoulders that you lived up to for the most part, yellow jerseys, you know, prologue victories. And then, like, in the second half of your career, a whole bunch of other stuff, and you became a kind of breakaway specialist, and also, you know, doing on occasion work for other riders and things like that. So which of the iterations of David Millar gave you the most kind of like the fondest memories and the most pleasure of that race? Because was it 13 tours you did in the end?
12.
12.
Should have been 13.
Let it go, David.
Oh, no, never. I mean, I think when people ask me, I was so fortunate or privileged to get full spectrum of experiences, from kind of turning up to my first Tour de France in 2000, neophyte, and winning my first stage and getting the yellow jersey, which was, I mean, talk about living in a bubble and living your dream. I loved every moment of it, you know, and then over the years, those first years, as you said, it kind of the pressure just accumulated, and I made mistakes, and I stopped enjoying the tour. And then everything came to a head. I lost it, which was probably the best thing that happened to me when I was banned. And I thought I'd never go back to pro cycling, I'd never do the Tour de France again. And it was done. And then when I rediscovered it, I came back with that kind of, how would I put it, that beginner's mindset again, when I did my first tour back in 2006. And I just felt so grateful that I could be there racing. And I was there with zero pressure. I was just there to do my thing. And then I found myself as a part team owner of Slipstream, which became Garmin, and my role changed to road captain. And I was then, for the majority of that second half of my career, I was there as a road captain, as supporting the kind of the greater good of the team. And I loved that role, like Lizzie said. It was just, I could just do my work. I didn't get opportunities to go on breaks. That was only when my whole team crashed out in 2012 and I was kind of cut free, and I could go and I won that stage. But I just always felt when I turned up to Tour de France, That first year was amazing in 2000. Then the weight of expectation kind of ruined it for me for a few years. But then when I came back from 2006 to 2012, I just loved every moment of it. And I just thought it was like the most, I just felt this, I felt like every time I did it, I felt like I was living my dream. And I would have so much, and even when it was like really bad in 2010, when I broke ribs and was in a horrible mess, it was the only race in the world where I was like, I'm not going to give up. I got to get to the finish. I don't care what damage this does to me. I've got to get to Paris, because the race meant so much to me. It's why I did it. It's why I turned pro. It's why kind of pro cycling had captured my imagination and my heart when I was young, was because of the Tour de France. So for me, it was just, it was mostly, I'm so glad that I got to live such a spectrum of experiences there as a bike racer.
Wow, brilliant stuff.
What does it take to lead at the highest level?
Just like that, she's done it again.
If we say we start at 11:30, we start at 11:30, not 11:31.
What happens if they turn up late?
They don't.
To build cultures where excellence isn't accidental, it's expected.
I hate losing more than I probably love winning.
Really?
I hate it. I can't stand it. And I'll admit that.
Making a Manager brings you beyond the sidelines, inside the minds of the leaders, shaping some of the most demanding environments in the sport.
He come round and put his hand on my shoulder. He said, I just want you to know that's all your fault. If I want to work with people, I wouldn't want them to feel that way.
From the big decisions to the quiet moments of doubt.
I was the only female that walked into this room where it was middle-aged men, and I had two choices. I could either walk through the door or I could walk back out.
Hearing from the managers of the Barclays WSL and the Barclays WSL2, hearing firsthand how they inspire, motivate, and create spaces where individuals and teams can thrive. This is Making a Manager, available wherever you get your podcasts.
What's our final reason, just finally, to sell the Tour de France to ourselves, that we obviously don't need to do, but why should we all love the Tour de France? What's your last reason, Lizzie?
I like the kind of unashamed, in some ways I like it, in some ways I don't, but like the unashamed arrogance of the ASO. Like, they're like, we are the best race. You will follow our rules. You will listen. You will be honoured to be here. And everyone kind of just falls in line, and they're like,
they do,
yes.
actually.
And
What
they
an
do it.
expression. Unashamed arrogance.
That is them.
That's them, isn't
you're
it?
spot
Is
on.
arrogance, does that make arrogance okay if it's unashamed?
Yeah.
I think there's a
pretty
place
much.
for-
Yeah.
You got a problem
Yeah.
with that? I don't have a problem with it. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's like le tour c'est le tour, and that's it,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's just what, you know, like you're in there, you're a guest in
Yeah.
their house, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
You know
you
what it
don't
remi-
like it, go home.
You know what it kind of makes, it's brilliant, Lizzie, because all of a sudden, there's that story, there is a story from the 1960s where at NASA, there's a guy brooming up the kind of, he's cleaning in the NASA center, and somebody asks him, why do you do this? He's like, because I'm getting somebody to the moon. But this is, wait, I'll get there. This is what like the car park attendants at the ASO are like.
Yes. That's
Yeah,
so true.
that's quality.
Oh, that's excellent. That's excellent. Yeah. Pete, what have you got left in your list? of
David
free-
wins the pod.
He wins the pod again. I think Lizzie wins the pod for that.
Yeah.
Unashamed arrogance. David, sorry, Pete, what have you got left on your list?
Yeah, actually, mine's nowhere near as good as Lizzie and David's answers. But as I put these little headphones here in, it reminded me of the last 6 years, was it? Working on television.
Yeah.
And and I realised I'm not going to do that this year because I'm going to be working for Astana. And one of my favourite things was to go and spend the 3 weeks in a car driving around talking about it with you guys. So that's my favourite.
Oh, Pete, that's beautiful. I think you win the pod.
That is beautiful.
No, guys, we did have some brilliant memories from those years, didn't we? I mean, I'm with you on that, Pete. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Have I asked you for your last one, David? I've completely lost
No, you
track of the
haven't.
running order. Oh, go on then. What have you got?
I thought it was the NASA one.
He just threw that in as a little
I
bonus.
just threw that in there. I thought about this a lot regards what makes Tour de France so special, and it's because it's a soap opera. It's got nothing to do with Tadej Pogačar and kind of who wins. It was Big Brother before Big Brother. You know, that's how it was created by a media company to sell more newspapers, to create narratives day in, day out, from last place to first place in the periphery. And when you watch the Tour de France, you've got 3 weeks of effectively Big Brother sports. Because, it's brilliant. You're not watching, people are, he makes it boring, Tadej Pogačar. There's just a tiny part of the story. There's so much going on. And I think that's kind of what we love as well, Ned, when we're out there. It's kind of, if you go even outside the race, kind of going in the tourism, the accidental tourism, everything about it is just like magical. It's just this 3-week kind of smorgasbord of stuff. So that's why I love the Tour de France.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's the length of the event, isn't it? And like you mentioned earlier, when Tadej Pogačar suddenly develops his existential crisis, well, that just came from nowhere, didn't it? And you just follow these, and then even when, I mean, you're right about the origins of the Tour, because Henri Desgrange, who founded the race and was the editor of Lotto, used to write a column every day in the early years. And if not enough was happening in the race, he'd just provoke a bit of a polemic, you know?
Yeah.
He'd just have a go at Henri Pélissier, just saying he's a disgrace.
Imagine if they had like confession boxes for riders in the evening.
Oh.
That would be amazing.
Oh, that would be good.
So good.
Yeah. I mean, so my final thing just to say is and this kind of tallies a little bit, Pete, with what you've just said about, you know, missing the television coverage, just a little bit, is there was this moment, David, when you and I did 10 years of commentating the Tour de France together. And the way that a television programme works is that, you know, Gary and Pete in the studio at the ITV show used to sort of like come on air on day one, maybe half an hour before the race started, and preview everything in a similar way, that slightly more better researched way, but a similar way than what we've just done. But then there would come this moment, maybe 5 minutes before the start of the neutralised rollout, where live pictures would appear from wherever the start was. And normally you'd get a helicopter shot of the city square where the race was lining up to roll out for the beginning of stage one. And at some point during that, Gary would sort of wrap up the discussion in the studio and hand over to you and me in commentary, David. And we would pick it up from there. And we would be talking over pictures of this peloton of 178 riders that was about to embark on this 3-week soap opera on our behalf to entertain us. But at that very point, before even the neutralised rollout has started, when you might have seen like last year's winner, Vingegaard or Pogačar, just coming up on the outside of the bunch, just to take his place on the front row where all the big stars were lined up. At that point, that still moment before the race even starts, the whole race is perfect, isn't it? It's perfect. Everybody is on 0 seconds. Nobody's won a King of the Mountains point. No one's won a stage. No one's placed anywhere. There are no points been awarded in any. No one's crashed. Nothing's gone wrong. Nothing's gone right. It's just full of potential and hope, that moment. And then what happens for the next 21 days is it slowly falls apart. And that's it, isn't it? That's how the Tour de France works. You've got this perfection that just crumbles.
Yeah.
And I just think it's that little moment before the race gets away is probably the single biggest thing I'm going to miss about the television job, and also the thing that I love most about the Tour de France. That's roughly where I'm at with that.
Very good.
So that is pretty much it. When are we all? So Pete, when do you get out to Barcelona?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, a day ahead of me. I'll arrive on Thursday, Pete. I'll drop you a message when we get there. David, your start to the Tour de France is a little bit complicated this year, isn't it?
It is a little bit. I have my sister's wedding on Friday and Saturday, so I will be flying in on Saturday night.
Saturday night,
I will join you there.
You won't be involved on the very first couple of pods, but you will from Sunday onwards, basically. Lizzie, when do you get to Barcelona?
Friday morning.
Friday morning. Fantastic. And we will, just a little reminder, For the Love of Cycling goes into daily mode after this podcast. We will be doing daily post-stage episodes every single day, following the race in our hired estate car, maybe even with a little branded sticker on the bonnet, recording pods from race locations every single day. Hopefully we'll get some friendly faces and familiar faces involved as well along the 3 weeks. And do look out for us on the socials as well. And that, as they say, is that. Next time we meet again, we shall all be in Barcelona. So with that in mind, for now, it's bye-bye. See you soon, folks. Cheers. Bye.
See you in Barcelona.
Bye. This podcast is proudly sponsored by Science in Sport. You've seen Beta fuel gels and recovery drinks in the hands of the riders. Now it's your chance to get your hands on some SIS goodies. If you spot Science in Sport on TV or in a photo, clip it, post it, share it, tag Science in Sport on Instagram,
and include #LoveOfCycling in the caption.
This will give you a chance of winning a 3-month Beta fuel hamper, perfect for a training block, courtesy of our friends at Science in Sport.